Happy now.
Really? Got loud enough?
Yeah, it's loud enough. And I think my phone just went over to 5 o'clock, so we'll
Yeah,
call the
so
meeting
did
order.
mine.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4. You're
Yes.
I'm here, Bill.
Yeah.
you're not an alternate anymore.
I'm
No,
not, I'm not an
So
alternate.
There's 5 regular members, 1 alternate. You get to sit and participate, but not vote.
Understand.
All right, first up on the agenda is approval of minutes of May 19, 2022.
I move to accept the minutes of May 9th as written.
Motion's made, seconded. Any discussion on it? Anybody find something? No discussion being heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Old business, no land use ordinance, development review ordinance, Earl McKenzie for Town of Isles application MD 01-22 to construct a 54-foot dock, aluminum ramp and 16 by 30 float. We had, you know what? While we're on this, we're gonna do the findings of fact and go over, review that and find out if those are, because these have to get voted on also.
Thought we already voted on that when we did
Nope,
it.
No,
we voted, we didn't vote on them being approved because we have to sign them.
Oh, gotcha.
well, we just have to approve the whole thing, not each.
Not each one,
No,
right?
right,
Okay.
yeah.
We do need to determine if the application is complete.
That hasn't been done yet.
No, that's correct.
Okay,
We did receive information from the applicant, a proposed path and bridge coming from the north, from the recreation area to the pier, which is very helpful.
Right.
Showing the location of the bridge and a bridge design. There's then also this Big Tree Beach Development Project final report that was submitted by the Capstone Project. And that maybe Earl, you could give an explanation of the,
Sure.
I'm sorry, you want to.
Yeah, Ken contacted the University of Maine. He had a connection with the Civil Engineering Department. And a group of students took it on as a project. They came out here a few times. We met with them. And it's, I mean, they did a nice job for a class project. My personal feeling is it's not a practical thing for this island, but it was, we sat in on a Zoom meeting that was very long, where they were with instructors grading them and other projects as well. It was quite tedious. And the finished result is very professional looking. There are things on there that are measurements and so on that aren't accurate. But I think it's not relevant to a town the size of this and the scope of what we're looking at. It was a good exercise for students. And that's all I call it, to be honest. It's the expense, the practicality for a municipality of our size is just completely impractical.
Mhm.
Why is that?
Well, did you look at the figures?
I didn't see the book.
Oh, it's been here on display. This, one figure is $1,100,000. I think that sums it up.
Yeah. That about does.
Yeah, and many of the things they took for granted, for example, the beach with cabanas and, I mean, it's just not,
They were designing a vacation resort.
yeah, maybe for a, 100,000 population town in New Jersey or Connecticut,
Right.
but not practical.
But so you don't feel that obviously that this is sufficient or a good answer to the issues that we've been asking for
No,
parking?
I
and-
don't,
and
I don't, I
fence.
think that what they recommended, for example, with parking was not practical, it's just, and then they assumed certain things from adjacent property owners without, which you really can't do in the real world. They did several proposals, for example, on a trail from the east side of the road, which would be Brigham and Kaminsky, which neither property owner was talked to about it. And I doubt if they would go along with it, and it just wasn't, the geography would not lend itself to their suggestion in the real world. And I don't believe they actually ever traversed it. Because I was with them. So there were a lot of assumptions made, and
Well,
it's an interesting class project, but
That's what it
I don't
was.
think it has any bearing on anything we're doing. That's my
So-
personal opinion.
Your draft path only addresses individuals walking from the north where there isn't a parking lot. There's just a 4-slot turnaround, as you estimated, and there's no path shown to access the pier from the existing parking lot.
Well, I as I've said all along, I think that the scale and the scope of what we're looking at is I guess I shouldn't say unrelated, but the people are gonna do what they've always done. This summer, you can go down there and you'll see people traversing that as they have for 50 years I've been out here, and no change. And people will bicycle there, and people will pull off there and drop people off. That's not gonna change.
Mhm.
it's not gonna change. It's been a safety issue from way back when.
It is.
It has been. You say it's not gonna change, but it is gonna change because we're taking people that would normally walk to Mosley's Dock, and now we're gonna move them on further down the road. So that part's gonna change.
Well, there'll be,
Same number of people, just having to go a
yeah,
different.
people are gonna be bicycling. A lot of those kids already bicycle from the north end that come there, bicycle right by there. I mean, it's.
I
it's,
actually went down and took all kinds of measurements this morning. I'm not a professional engineer. I'm not a licensed surveyor. These numbers don't mean a thing probably to a lot of people. But from the parking lot by your driveway and the parking lot across the road.
Right.
They've got to traverse 750 feet of road, and I noted that it had ample space to walk off the pavement.
Right.
All right. Could it be improved? Yes. With mowing or grading, cutting brush, what have you. But it's ample room to be off the pavement walking. That
Yeah.
was 750 feet to where the head of the proposed pier is gonna be.
Right.
If you remember when we were at the site review, Fred Porter was parked at that point right
Right.
out there. We're at the top. So 750 feet there, again, ample space off pavement for walking. 400 additional feet to reach the end of the current parking, and I put parking because it's technically, I don't believe it's actually a parking area. It's more like you pulled off on the side of the road and
Right. At one point that was paved by the town.
right. I know, somehow it got paved and, you know, what, for whatever reason, and however that happened, who knows, but technically, I don't think you can look at that as real parking. When I was parked there, let's see, walking south on the proper side of the road, there's a fair amount of space that I could stay off the pavement and stay on, you know, stay off the pavement, but still make it back to the parking lot. Granted, it could use some grading and some maintenance along the way to make it more user friendly. There's a share the road sign at the north end, and this sign is, in my opinion, all inclusive. I don't know if everybody else thinks that or not, but when it's got a vehicle, a bicyclist, and a pedestrian, and it says share the road, that means all of us. Doesn't mean just the vehicle. It doesn't mean just the pedestrians. I know that in driving down through there, I've seen 4 people abreast in the road walking. That's not sharing the road. Somebody come flying down through there and whipping out into the side to avoid something. I mean, it's not sharing the road. We gotta be careful. That share the sign, that share the road sign at the north end, let's see, it shares a post for the reduced speed sign going from, you know, telling you that you're gonna be going from 40 to 35. I parked at the north end of the quote unquote parking area. And I was 16 inches off the edge of the road with my flashers on. And I went north to where I could just see my tail lights flashing, my parking lights flashing. And I had 388 feet of visibility coming south. But 125 feet of that was inside the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit zone. There's no town representative here. Are you a selectman, Phil?
There's 2 of them here.
There's 2 of them here. Lauren is.
Now, I could,
What?
there's supposed to be a guy from the DOT coming.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm aware somebody's supposed to check it out and they're not gonna follow our, you know, it'd be nice if somebody said, you know, we can come over and check it out and help you out. I know you're on a time frame, what have you. We can come look at it, but they've got their own agenda and
I
plan.
did cut the brush back on the side last weekend
Uh-huh,
on the north a lot. I limbed those trees and to improve the sightlines,
right.
which made
Well-
quite a difference.
Again, I'm not a licensed or certified anything, so, but I got 388 feet visible with 125 of that in the 35-mile-an-hour zone. 16 inches off the edge of the street. So if I open my car door and a car's coming, they're gonna rip my car door off or swerve out into the street. Let's see, 386 feet visibility coming north to see my parking lot, my parking lights as I was parked at the southernmost part of that quote unquote parking zone, and that's in a 35-mile-an-hour zone. And what's interesting is if you look at visibilities and so forth, which, let me go back up and say, I haven't found any reason to have visibilities on the permit for, or the application for a pier. I know that we're talking safety. But according to visibility, it's if it's 35 miles an hour, it's 350 feet. If it's 40 miles an hour, it's 400 feet is what they want on the DOT side of things.
Yeah, just add a 0 to the speed limit. That's-
Right, exactly. These conditions have been a safety factor way before this application was ever considered. People have been traversing the same amount of distance to get to and from Big Tree Beach swimming area, parking at the head of the pier area. I went up and parked where the head of the pier, thinking, all right, how are people gonna get here? They're gonna drop people off, or they're gonna walk the road to the head of the pier. And I pulled in where Fred had parked at the head of the pier, again, about 16 inches off the pavement. And visibility to the north is in excess of 350 feet by quite a bit, actually. Visibility to the south, or coming from the south to see where my parking lights were there, was 335 feet. But it could be increased with pruning of trees and shrubs along that side of the road. It could be increased to a lot more. But the trees in that area are preventing you from seeing, or people seeing you park there. These are all things that the town could take into consideration if they were to be concerned about the safety issue, and help deal with it. Now, that being said, speed limit signs only do their job when people obey them. Keep off the grass signs only do the job when people obey them. My father always used to say, locks keep honest people honest, and that's all they do. So where are we with the safety issue? Because that's, that doesn't fall, that falls in what we asked for. They delivered it. It may not be what we, it may not be helpful, but they delivered it.
Mhm.
But where does that fall in the area of the pier as far?
I think you have to remember, this is a application that's not just a land use application.
I know. Yeah.
So parking is a valid issue, parking and access off, on and off the road, which is one of the findings of fact.
Right. We covered some of that in findings of fact.
Correct.
We covered that in some of the conditions.
Mhm.
Now, I guess the thing to do would be to find out if conditions have been met satisfactorily. Go through the findings of fact for those conditions that were in there. Have they been met satisfactorily?
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, you can.
When your car was parked at the north end, you had 300 some feet going north.
Yeah.
The brush that you're talking about, because town owns from the center line of the road inside 15 feet or 25.
25.
Okay, so that means you're gonna have to get permission from the owner of that property to cut those bushes down or whatever he has there, or she.
The area that I was talking about, the bushes, is on town property because it's right there
Oh, that's
between
good, yeah.
Mosley's and the proposed dock.
Well, that's good.
That's the area that I was talking about.
Is that road 25 feet on either side?
Do you know, Dave? It is 25 feet from center.
The actual roadway varies from 20 to 22 feet wide is what the tar is.
Right, but
Yeah, no, I hear you.
from center of the road,
Right.
25 feet.
That's right. So it gives you quite a bit of latitude to
Right,
clean.
but I don't know that it's necessarily town property, but it's town
No, with the town,
accessibility.
yeah,
Yeah.
they can go in there and repair shoulders
Yeah.
and things like that.
You gotta mow it.
Yeah.
All right. Going back to, I just wanted to address that safety stuff that we've seen,
Mhm.
and you take it for what it's worth, my measurements.
Mhm.
The safety issue has, again, been there since way before this was ever thought of. And is there a way we can deal with it?
You're talking about the safety issue of them walking on the road.
Right,
So at Mosley's dock, if the harbor master goes and says, okay, no kids or no people can loiter here.
Yep.
So then they're all gonna walk over here. So is they're gonna add traffic then?
I believe it is. The safety factor is still there, but it's just gonna add traffic.
Well, add safety too.
Mhm.
what do they call it, multiply the possibilities.
In my own opinion, I believe that what has been submitted as far as the path works great for this application. Because I find it unfair to try to link two separate town properties on a pre-existing issue as far as safety.
But it's a town recreation. It's becoming a town.
I understand that, but I still haven't found anywhere in the book where it says that we have to have parking on for this permit either.
Well, it's, you have to read it in terms of a development review under.
All I'm trying to say is in my opinion,
Yeah,
what was
yeah.
submitted suffices for what we're after for this application.
And-
Is there a problem from Mosley's down there? Absolutely. We can all agree that something has to be done. But I don't feel that this one application should encompass everything that's wrong with that area.
Okay, well, based on that, in good conscience, I cannot accept this application as complete without first seeing that parking and safe pedestrian access has been addressed. This application does not meet the criteria of approval of the Development Review Section 45-19E. I move that application NDO 1-22 does not meet the criteria for a complete application as it does not address parking and pedestrian safety to and from the proposed recreational pier from the north and south. A plan for addressing parking and pedestrian safety should be presented to the board with plans and a time frame for implementation prior to construction of the pier. That's my motion.
Okay,
I'll second it.
motion's made and seconded. Now we got discussion. What was the 45 dash what that you were recommending?
19E. That's the findings of that.
Right, it's under finding of facts. I'm like with Jesse, all this paperwork he gave us does meet what we wanted. But as far as the safety aspect, that's more concerning to
I know,
me
it's-
than this.
yeah, It's crazy not to.
And
We have to
it
take-
says will not cause unreasonable public or private road congestion, unsafe conditions with respect to the use of public roads or private roads existing or proposed, including parking and Greenville Point. If we look at our draft of findings of facts that we did, if we haven't even approved yet, E, what I just read will not cause unreasonable public, private road congestion or unsafe conditions with respect to the use of the public, private roads existing or proposed, including parking at Greenville Point. Evidence provided, community members have noted their safety issues. We're not going to argue that there's safety issues with interactions between swimmers, boats, Mosley should be remedied. Safe Roads Committee report completed a preliminary assessment of traffic speeds along Main Road and Mosley Dock location, which can be utilized by the Main DOT. And then they govern what those speed limit signs are. I believe Fred Porter posted something on Facebook about the regulations concerning road signs and speed signs. And having looked at it, I'm not sure that the town isn't able to change that. But I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a,
Mhm.
Well, they could do it seasonally, right?
exactly.
Well, I remember Janet saying that they contacted them and they're waiting for them to come
I
out to make
understand,
their
yep.
assessment.
Right, okay, community members stated the speed limit should be reduced in the dock area, pier. Concern has been raised, okay, water depth. Let's see. The town has not addressed the following issues raised at public hearing and previous planning board meetings. The town proposes that access to the pier by pedestrians from the north and the south will remain the same, walking all along the side of the main road. The current speed limit through the area is 35 miles an hour, which was noted to be too fast by members of the public. It's unclear which town committee is responsible for oversight Mosley. And the new pier, based on issues that have been previously noted, the Harbor Committee provides oversight. And then parking has not been addressed for the proposed pier. That's findings of fact. Let's see, the following information needs to be provided to the planning board and will be included as conditions to the permit. Plans for pedestrian access to the new pier from the north and south shall include warnings to vehicles and pedestrians. We've got a pedestrian plan from the north to the south right now. And I believe, even though we don't have it drawn out, that we all understand coming from south to north, there are gonna be people gonna be walking up the road or on the side of the road. Actions to be taken for traffic calming identified by Harbor Committee to include lower speed limit at 25 miles an hour, reduction in speed limit to 300 feet north, or move reduction in speed limit sign to 300 feet north of present location. And I believe Janet said that she might be able to do that. Plans for installation of warning signs and slow traffic pedestrian crossing. That is the findings of fact. That was some of the things that we asked for. Is that how much of that is been taken care of? How much of it has not been taken care of?
They haven't addressed how they're going to get cars to stop. Well, if they're gonna have temporary pullovers for the beach, they've got to have signage. They just need more detail, encouraging people and making people park at the Mosley Dock. They don't have sufficient parking at the Big Tree Beach. And I would suggest that having children walking on the side of the road, if we had two large dump trucks passing each other, I mean, they are short, but still they could get hit by the trucks, the side view mirrors. I mean, everybody's big trucks now have enormous side view mirrors, gonna be whacking children. I mean, I don't think it's a safe place. It's time that we take responsibility for the safety of that recreation area. It is expanding. People have noted that more people are using Big Tree Beach. I don't know what the usage is of the sailing program, but I think we're crazy not to ask for more detail and to encourage that this be implemented before construction of the pier.
How much room did you have on the guardrail when you were doing your measuring where they're gonna walk?
There's on the coming north, I didn't measure that, Gil, but I would say there was about 4 feet from tar to guardrail. Edge of the road to the guardrail, and it's all walkable. It could be made easier walkable by grading and grooming, as in mowing, because the grass gets taller and
So are you proposing that they stop using Big Tree completely the way they've been doing?
No, I'm asking that the town propose how they're going to resolve the safety
I mean,
and parking.
Regardless
as
of this whole project, if nothing happens.
That
just-
project is outside the scope of
So,
this. But
because
it's something that the
people are gonna
town should be
continue-
thinking about.
People are going to
Select
continue
board.
to do that.
Mhm.
And a couple points. One, I measured the depth where they have been swimming at low tide, 4 to 5 feet.
Right, well, actually, we determined that
So
that's
that- so that-
outside the purview of the,
So
Planning
that
yeah,
is kind of a moot point.
yeah.
And the other thing to keep in the back of your mind is, as you're saying that the traffic is increasing usage, so is our usage of a dock right now where people are coming in with boats.
Right.
So do we stop people from swimming there? I mean, you know, we're kind of in a catch-22 here. Where
How we're gonna do it.
as I stated before, I grew up in a small town in Maine. And by everything that we're talking about, none of the swimming places where I grew up as a kid swimming, my gosh, we would
That
have
was
been
when
in
you
danger
were,
every day.
that was when you were a kid.
Well, they
Times,
still- they're
everything's
still there.
growing now.
I know, but there's still Sears Mountain. Liberty,
Everything's
Montville,
better.
the same. It's like we're putting it to Connecticut big city standards, something that for the safety,
You're on that.
immediate safety.
Yeah, in terms of what the existing conditions are, that's totally without the purview of the planning board. That's an existing
Oh, I
condition.
understand.
Well, except you can't use it then as an argument about the
No,
addressing the safety in the future of a new project. So all we are empowered to do is to address the issues with the new project.
one
So-
suggestion I could make,
So don't confuse the issue by
No,
saying it's
no.
terrible now.
no, but I mean,
The
we,
town should be dealing with that,
right,
not the planning
right,
board.
but we've got to keep it within reasonable budgetary constraints too. We're a small town. We have to be reasonable about this. If the speed limit is reduced, then the sight lanes very quickly change. And perhaps you should table this until we come to some conclusion. If we can slow the traffic down, at least seasonally. I mean, I could see a compromise where we could slow the traffic for 2.5 months in the summer. Perhaps have a flashing light, because it's a problem where I live, it's a problem where the dock is now. We're not gonna solve this whole thing in one fell blow. That plan right there is the other extreme, which is out of the realm of possibility for a small town. We all want to see safety. I'm wearing a couple hats here. I'm wearing the hat of harbor master and dealing with the reality of the situation that we have now, a clear and present danger that we have to take, I have to take into consideration. You don't, but I do. And I'm trying to come up with some way of keeping the kids safe in that realm. So I'm trying to be reasonable and practical to make something happen. And if we do nothing, if we table it and do nothing, you know, I will reiterate that you're going to see the same, you're going to see more traffic because there are more people using Big Tree Beach regardless of this. And, you know, I think we have to, it'd be great if we could slow the traffic down and do something with the road. But I think we've got
Well,
to
I
do
think
within-
that basically my motion is not tabling it, is to say that it's not complete and asking for more details on how the town is going to, you know, to basically set up a time schedule
Right. Well,
for
we're supposed to
setting up
meet
speed
in the next 2
limits
days.
and
That
everything.
engineer is supposed to be here for the next 2 days, is my
Mhm.
understanding.
Mhm.
The DOT is supposed
Yeah.
to be here?
Yes.
So you can
Yeah,
find
it's gonna
out.
be
the
at
time
the 23rd
schedule.
or 24th. And I'm waiting to hear, because I want, you know, there's a few of us want to meet with them and see what the possibilities are that we can do. And I mean, we looked at tables of sight distance, stopping distances at 25. It's a very relatively short sight line. I went down and spent a few hours the other day with a chainsaw and brush cutters clearing that side of the road, which improved the sight line considerably. And actually, there's a hump there of ground that could actually be lowered to even do it more. And if people start slowing down where that speed limit sign is now, the sight line is not bad at a slower speed.
Could I ask Jen a question? I think this is probably.
This is still part
Yeah,
of
we're in
the
I
discussion.
think it's in order to ask the question. Do you see measures that could be taken that would satisfy your objections to this?
I basically am concerned that we haven't addressed the parking issue and that we need, I think the applicant needs to provide how they're going to get people to use the current parking lot And if they're gonna, and if it's, you know, are they gonna pull over at Big Tree Beach to drop people off? It's just a lot of question details, but basically what you're suggesting. But you just need to give us the information that, that we can work on to say, it's just totally inappropriate that for a development review project that we're not dealing with the parking issue.
I think it's, I'm not sure if it's practical to put parking there. I mean, initially I thought so, but I'm not sure if people will want that. You know, they may want to keep it vegetated. I think that regardless of anything we do, people are going to continue to pull over there and drop people off.
Right.
I don't think that's going to change. I think people would be upset if we try to change it. You can post it, but people are still going to do it. It just, it's a fact. You know, it's tradition.
Well, that's where, you know, the town would work on it, a committee to work on how they were going to do signage, how to encourage people not to park there, but to park at the parking lot, utilize Fred's services to ticket people. But you need to show that the town will have an effort instead of, my concern is DOT is going to come and it's going to take a year for them to change the speed limit sign.
Yeah, well, we may not, at this point, I'm not sure we can get a dock in anyway this year, but I think that's something we should look at. The speed is the primary factor, seasonally. I think in this, you know, I mean, the guys driving the trucks are busy. They're trying to make a living too. In the spring and fall, they're very busy. I can't, you know,
That
if there's
doesn't,
no one using
that
it.
doesn't give us the right to speed up and down the road.
No, but I could see a higher speed limit left in place, except in the summer when there's heavy usage there. I guess that's the point I'm making.
Yeah, I understand. I understand the season.
I think, you know, there's gonna be compromises on all sides. What started, you know, and obviously what's starting it is the increased usage of Seal Harbor as a primary harbor for the island and recreation area. And that's not gonna slow down.
I have a question on the chat. Has
Well,
the
here.
correspondence been reviewed, in particular from the town lawyer?
I didn't even hear what you had said. so I
Janice
can't read.
Petzel wants to know if correspondence has been reviewed, in particular from the town lawyer.
I haven't gotten any correspondence. from the
Yeah,
town
we
lawyer.
got it last week,
We did.
yeah, Sally Daggett.
Yeah, I gave you a print out of that.
I went through a couple questions. We asked, she agreed that the project needs to come under review under both the land use ordinance and the development review ordinance. In terms of the second public hearing, somebody asked if we should have that. And that we have the authority to schedule a public hearing whenever we deem that it's necessary. And then finally, this was the tough one about that. This was really, if you guys have this last paragraph. Well, I'll read it. It's regarding, do we have authority to attach conditions to any approval related to safety, including traffic calming, parking, and swimming restrictions? And she basically said we're probably going outside our zone with swimming. But she did say that 45-15 does state that the planning board may add conditions of approval to a permit that finds necessary to comply with the purposes of the development review ordinance, such as assuring comfort, convenience, safety, health, and welfare of citizens of Islesboro. However, despite the DRO's language, these stated purposes are too vague on their own to empower the planning board to attach additional conditions of approval. Arguably, any condition of approval based solely on the purpose language could be tied to some furtherance of the safety, health, or welfare of the town's residents. Imposing such a condition of approval would likely exceed the planning board's authority and risk a potential legal challenge. In parentheses, if a land use ordinance gives an administrative board basically unlimited discretion or provides vague standards of review, it creates constitutional problems. It violates the applicant's constitutional rights to equal protection, due process, because it does not give the applicant sufficient notice of what requirements it will have to meet. And it does not guarantee that every applicant will be subject to the same requirements. With that being said, if the planning board feels that restrictions on diving and swimming are necessary to further one of the specific review criteria in DRO 45-19, then such a condition could be appropriate, but this determination must be based on well-articulated reasons and evidence contained in the planning board record. And I think we felt that the swimming issue was really outside our purview, but we definitely have standing in terms of parking and safety on the road, according to 45-19E.
Bill said that there was roughly 4 foot on the side of the road for walking.
Coming
From the north.
from the
or-
south to
or
the
from
north,
yeah,
roughly
yeah,
4
south to
feet.
north.
It's more like 3 feet going from north to south, if you walk on the proper side of the road, which I was taught to do.
But if you're double and triple side by side,
I'm sorry,
said if you're walking double and triple side
No.
by side.
that's what I'm saying, is share the road means share the road. When you're riding your bicycles two abreast or a line of bicycles that are one right after the other, not allowing cars to get around you kind of thing, that's not really sharing the road.
And that could happen anywhere. on
It
this
could happen
island.
anywhere on the island.
It can, and does.
I think if the speed limit was addressed, I would feel okay about. And I think the town has provided parking. If people don't use it, town can't make them use it. And those parking lots are
I
pretty
mean,
much
that's my feeling, basically.
underutilized.
I think that it's up to people to utilize what we have for a facility. If we can reduce the speed, I think that would be key.
I do too.
Even for the existing dock, we have a tremendous problem there now. If you drive in there, you back out, you have no visibility to the south in a standard car.
There's safety
So
issues
I would
throughout
like
the
to see-
town.
What's that?
There's safety issues throughout the town. If you go through, if you go through Island Market, Post Office area, 25 miles an hour, this time of year until what, October,
Yeah.
Columbus Day.
you're going too fast.
Same with the Dark Harbor Shop in the summer. I mean, we have
Mhm.
numerous places on the island that we have to be careful.
But I would say that area in particular is a curvy stretch of road, hilly. And there are a lot of children going to be there and cars.
Yeah.
And if you're saying there aren't a lot of children, I believe it's set up for children down there for the sailing.
Most of the
program.
people are gonna be young adults and high
Oh,
school
so is there an
age.
age limit? Oh, I didn't
That's,
realize
that's
that.
what I have
No.
seen,
There isn't an
that
age
because
limit.
I'm down there almost daily and that's predominantly the people that are using it.
The younger ones seem to be at the beach.
Yeah, they bicycle or they come down. That's,
Well,
I still,
and adults, a lot of adults go down to the beach.
I still feel what's been submitted is more than adequate for what we're trying to do for this swimming fair.
I think we should make the town put more effort into this. As people have testified at the various meetings and written in, that it's not a good location, as stated by a member of the public. The proposed plan in reality may very well create an even bigger safety issue than its intent to prevent.
There's nothing we do that we're gonna make everyone happy. I mean, if there's one or two people that don't like it, there may be 50 that do, or if there's 50 that don't, there's only 2 that, you know,
What are you referring to?
that do
though?
like it. You just stated that there was one member of the public who doesn't want it there.
No, she's just concerned that it's going to cause more of a problem.
I mean, I just, from what, in my opinion, what has been submitted, there's now a improved path from where people currently
But
park.
there's no parking there.
Can I finish?
We,
Please.
you know, we have.
Where people currently park there, where they have for well before since I've been here.
Mhm.
And I still find it very unreasonable, even though there is room for people to walk from Mosley's dock. From that parking lot down, I still find it unnecessary to make them attach the 2 separate lots. When that's a parking lot that's primarily for the boat dock. If the town needs to improve parking for the swimming area, then that's something that they need to address, but I don't find it fair to attach one to the other. That's all I'm trying to say.
The other thing, we don't have many alternatives for doing this. We have no other
What was
alternatives. I
it
know
Jeff
about.
Goldblum said in the movie Independence Day? Just because we can do something doesn't mean we should do
Yeah.
something.
I mean, at Sprague's Beach right now, people swim there and they, you know where they park,
Hmm?
mostly in the road.
Oh,
And-
That's Sprague's Beach.
And, I mean, we're, you know,
Mhm.
it's just we're small.
So
That's the same question.
So
we have to deal with Jennifer's motion.
we do have to do with Jennifer's motion.
Can I just make a comment?
Yes,
Peanut gallery over here.
yes.
Um,
And as a member of the community and as a select board member,
Right, well, I'm speaking.
as a member of the community.
As a person sitting in the audience listening to this, sounds like you've been talking extensively about not only the existing problem, but the fact that it's going to increase with the usage. It already has increased at Mosley's Dock. It's going to increase even more with this new dock. I mean, this is an opportunity to address the safety problem. And I'm not sure that walking along the west side, where cars are going to be parked, sometimes as many as 10 cars parked along there. They're not dropping off, they're parking. And people are going to have to walk not only on the road or on the path adjacent to the road, but they're going to have to walk around those cars. Some people forced into the road or on a non-existent path. So I think just spending a little more time addressing this is worth protecting people on the island.
Well, We have a path though, from that parking area, they're adding a path in, so they won't have to walk in the road around cars.
So that's on the north side. I'm talking about from the south side.
That's on the west side.
Yeah.
I just hadn't seen.
Yeah, I
any
mean, you have the
parking
same issue of people walking from the store to the post office. You have people getting in, backing out.
You
and
can't.
If you're going 25 miles an hour,
That's not the issue here. We're talking about the dock.
Just because there's a problem at Dark Harbor and at the post office, right now, this is an opportunity to address safety, not those situations.
but I guess, what are we proposing? To put a big parking lot in there? What are you know, I've been
You have
thinking about this for
options,
2
you
years.
have one option,
I'd like
which
to
is
see
just
solutions.
over the top, obviously.
Yeah,
And you
and
have a parking lot there.
that's only for 10
So-
cars.
So you know that you just need, the current, most.
No, the one there is for 10
Oh,
That's
cars.
for 10 cars.
So
Is
you
that
just,
main- is
you
that
need to
adequate?
provide us with how you're going to get people to utilize that the current parking lot, if you're not gonna build another parking lot, to get people, children from the parking lot to the,
But you can
New
post,
pier.
you can post a no parking and give people tickets and force them. But then you're gonna have people.
well, that's where we
That are-
just
that
need
are
you to
older
write up
with-
alternatives. The
Let-
town
well,
needs to
let me
propose a
finish, let me
plan.
finish.
Yeah,
You have people go down there that take their chairs that are sometimes elderly that go down on the beach. That they they put their car there and that's how they get there. And there are numerous people that do that. And so it's probably not particularly reasonable for them to go from the other parking lot and walk the whole way. They've been doing, these are people that have been doing this way for a long time. And I'm just not sure, I'm not gonna police them on it. And I know Fred's probably not gonna be very happy about it either. I'm just trying to find a reasonable alternative here. You could take the whole of that area and make a parking lot in there. There would be a lot of people who'd be very unhappy about that. Because they want to see it somewhat natural in there. So,
Well, we
Yes.
didn't propose that parking lot, so that's an option that I'm sure the town would be really unhappy with.
yeah,
There has to be other
Yeah,
options.
that's
and
not
They just haven't been reviewed, and it would be really nice to pull together something that's gonna be
But-
taken prior to the construction of the pier. You're just adding on to the, I mean, how are you gonna get the kids to move from Mosley's Dock to the new pier? You're gonna have somebody out there all the time. You already said you're gonna be out there. So.
I mean, basically you post it and you stop people from swimming there. And that's the
not
alternative.
what we could do, though, but,
That is the alternative. There were a few times last summer when I got too much there, way over the top, that I had people go over there. It just was
mhm.
over the top.
I got a hand in the audience, but I saw a hand come up over here first.
I think trying to make people do something is definitely not our concern.
Oh, right, but where we need to do is have them a path. We have to have.
Provide them an
Safe.
opportunity, is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
provide
Mhm.
opportunity for safe passage. And
there
I
are-
don't believe that just having that side of the road opportunity is ideal.
Well, as Lauren had stated, if there's a car parked there, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Because
And if
that
somebody-
car is
yeah.
taking up the space that you would normally be
Mhm.
walking.
And if you have two cars that one, accidents happen.
Of course
And you
they do,
just
that's why they
don't
call them
want it to
accidents.
happen there. I'm just trying to have the town avoid an accident.
I think we're in no win situation because if we,
Well, I thought that when we first started this
you
whole
know,
process.
we close the
But we
street
need to
down
deal with
there,
her-
there's gonna be,
Her emotions still.
there's gonna be an absolute uproar. I can guarantee you. Everyone sitting here is gonna be very unpopular because, including
I've been
me,
unpopular before though, so.
because this is something that's traditionally been done. That's why Fred Mosley turned it over to the town, because he didn't want the liability of people swimming off of that dock. That was when there were 3 boats out there. And a single float seasonally. So there's some history here.
Reread your
Motion.
motion, please.
All right, I move that application NDO 1-22 does not meet the criteria for a complete application, as it does not address parking and pedestrian safety to and from the proposed recreational pier from the north and the south. A plan for addressing parking and pedestrian safety should be presented to the board with plans and a time frame for implementation prior to construction of the pier.
And that's based on the safety portion of,
And,
4519.
yeah. correct.
that's based on that safety
Yeah.
portion.
Mhm.
Because anywhere else, other than if Roger Burke was wanting to put a dock in there, that we probably wouldn't be going through all of what we're going through, but because it's a public use.
Yeah. Yeah. And he already said he probably can't get the pier in this year anyway, so
Well-
if we just put it on
I don't care,
not complete, we just need time to see the town address the
Okay.
issue.
the motion has been made. Any further discussion? I got a hand in the audience. Okay,
Mhm.
Terry.
I just, couple of things. My sense is that everybody on the board would conclude that there is a dangerous, maybe that's too strong a word, but an unfortunate, unsafe situation in terms of coming and going and walking and parking and dropping kids off or picking them up. And I think everybody, most everybody, would probably come to an agreement on some sort of a consensus to solve the problem. There is a solution out there.
Right.
That everybody could, if they didn't like all of that solution, they could at least accept the fact that a majority somewhere decided that this was a solution to an existing problem and that it ought to be addressed. I think the problem is, I don't think Earl, as far as I know, has not actually submitted a plan to solve the problem, because he submitted a plan to build a dock, a pier, and a ramp. And that's
Right.
all.
And no, it just, yeah, and this is just
If I
come in.
Well, all right. But that maybe solves some of the problem, but it doesn't solve all the problem. All I'm suggesting is I think Earl's under tremendous pressure to build the dock. Now, I don't have to think the dock is a good idea, but I do think that in terms of what's been advertised, in terms of, I keep saying Earl, it's not Earl, it's
It's
the
not,
town.
and thank
In
you for
terms of the
recognizing that.
town's project, it's to build a dock, a pier, and a ramp. And I don't think that there's anything before the board that says that that dock, pier, and ramp ought not to be built from a planning land use point of view. So maybe the solution here is to approve the dock, the pier, and the ramp with a condition that any other activity on that town land, activity designed to solve or ameliorate the parking problem, or to solve or ameliorate the pedestrian problem, ought not to be solved by the planning board sitting in this meeting, but ought to be solved by either the applicant himself or by a committee or some sort of consensus that's formed by the town in the form of the selectmen to decide what to do. So what that really leads me at, and I'm sorry, it's a little convoluted, but I'm getting to the base of it. It seems to me that the board could approve what has been submitted and what has been advertised, which is a dock, a pier, and a ramp. If there's other work that ought to be done, or maybe ought to be done, that can be addressed at a later time, and the dock can be permitted. If he wants to, Earl could start work on that with a permit from the board, as long as there were a condition that before the use of the dock, pier, or ramp, the other solution, the other problems ought to be addressed. Maybe they can't be solved, but they might be addressed. Or maybe they can't even be addressed, and maybe it's never gonna happen, in which case then maybe I think what Jennifer is concerned about is probably correct, that in terms of the land use ordinance and the safety issue, I don't think the board should approve the existing or the proposed plan, because I don't think it solves the safety problem. But that would then lead the board to a position of saying, okay, we can't approve the whole plan because of this little thing of safety. And the board might be asked to turn down the plan, in which case the applicant, the town, has to go to the Board of Appeals and say, you know, we think this is a special set of circumstances and we ought to be able to do this for this, this, and this reason. And the Board of Appeals, if it ever meets and operates, which is always a question, but if the Board of Appeals has the ability to grant a special exception to go ahead and do something that is apparently not going to be safe, or not going to be perfectly adequate, or not going to be 100% guaranteed to work, but the Board of Appeals can grant that. And maybe that's the way to go. Basically, what I'm saying is, I think what's really before the board is dock, pier, and ramp.
Right.
And I think the board is in a position to approve the dock, pier, and a ramp with an exception. I mean, a special condition that maybe before the dock, pier, and ramp are to be used, the safety problem ought to be addressed and either solved, or maybe a decision is made that it can't be solved. It's an inherently unsafe situation, and it's always been that way, and we can keep it that way. But
Yeah, the
we
one
need
thing
more
is,
information on
Terry,
that.
this application isn't just a land use application. It's a development review application. So that's why the parking, why it has to be treated as a package.
I understand, and I'm saying that I think that the board can go for what's advertised and been noticed, which is a dock pier and ramp. And the safety issue of that dock pier and ramp, as it's going to be used, can be addressed and solved as nearly as it can as a condition, special condition for the permit. You know, so that Earl could get to work on his dock and the town can get to work on the safety
You're right,
problem
right up
that
there I
exists.
am.
And they could go on simultaneously.
What I hear you saying, and to draw it out as best I can, is that we're putting a bowl of cookies on the table and telling everybody to stay off of it until we get everything squared away.
Which won't happen,
That doesn't work in my house.
which will not happen.
That's what I hear you saying.
Yeah, I could be. I'm not sure I understood.
Roger's
your
on it,
analogy,
Roger's
but
on it.
But the
I'll-
planning
I'll
board
accept
has to operate within a certain context in the state.
It has to. go
My
by-
experience, yeah, right, and let me just throw this out as an example. I don't think that this board would have a problem of refusing to deal with a safety issue if this were, the applicant were a McDonald's coming to the board. This is any town, including Islesboro, coming to the board where the owner of the land wanted to put in McDonald's and it was on a sharp curve. Okay, if that were the case, the planning board would never be able to approve that application because there would be an overriding safety issue. Now, that's, I think, the reality of it. The safety concerns are in the development review process, part of our responsibility. I wish it weren't, but that's the way I believe it is.
It's black and white.
Yep, it's black and white, and I don't think we can avoid that. And I think that's what Jennifer has been saying, we can't avoid that.
Right.
But I don't feel that it is a increased safety issue of what's already there.
I
People
do.
all,
Oh, it will be, because
people
you're,
already walk
Right.
back and forth, people
Right.
already, whether it's joggers, bikers, people swimming, they're already walking up and down the road. We've already got kids that are on the dock. To me, that safety issue, because my kid's been one of the ones that was nearly hit.
Yeah, yeah.
But that safety issue supersedes a safety issue of somebody walking side by side down the road. That's my own personal opinion, is get the kids off of the ramp where they can get hit by a boat right now versus, you know, what may happen if they're walking side by side down the road.
Yeah.
I'm not saying one's better than the other one. I'm saying one of them, in my opinion, is a more imminent threat
right,
versus the other one.
and the walking on the road, I think, is more important than the boat, because how, that, like Earl said, the dock's been in there for how many years? They haven't had an accident, they've had a couple close calls.
Yep, in speaking to what you're saying, the issue has already been there, the safety issue has already been there. Are we adding to it? Yes, because we're taking the people that have been going to Mosley Dock and now we're marching them down the road even more to get to the swim dock. So that many more people are on the roads. So yeah, it does affect it.
Yeah, I would be all for it, Jesse, I would, but I'm trying to, I'm like most of us, I think, are struggling for some compromise here.
I'd like to see a
Is there
decision
some-
made today.
What's that?
I would too.
Love to see a decision made today.
I very much would.
Okay, first off, you know, there's reasonably good chance that we won't have it for this summer. I mean, I'm gonna say, I don't think it's possible at this point. So we have some time.
That's what I
Okay, well,
wanted
then
to
we'll
hear,
just
that's
go
what I wanted to hear.
Go with the motion.
Second.
Just get it
I think
approved.
that we've got to be realistic about numbers. We're not talking hundreds of people walking on the road. We're talking about groups of teens, 20, you know, I'm talking about not all at once, but I'm talking about
I think
The
I've
height-
heard you say there's been 30 kids on that float. at one
the one, yeah, but they're not gonna all walk in mass. They come at these were.
Different times.
Yeah, yeah. So we're not looking at a busload of people all of a sudden walking on the road. So we have to keep that in mind and be realistic here, what we're looking at. Like I said before, we're not in Connecticut here. The other thing is that I do feel that the reasonable compromise is if we can meet with the DOT, if the traffic is slowed down, the sight line for traffic at 25 is very short.
It's 250 feet.
I mean, there's a table that you can look at and find that.
And that goes in here.
And it becomes reasonable. And I think that that's the reasonable solution, because people have been doing it now for a long time with a higher speed. If we're doing it at a lower speed there, I think that's a reasonable compromise that would make it safe.
Absolutely.
Because, we don't have the property to put a massive parking lot anywhere in there. We don't. And the town budget would not support the expense of something like that.
So it sounds to me like if we could get the speed limit down to 25 miles per hour, the safety issue would be resolved as far as. the
Well,
planning
it
board
would be
is concerned.
softened, certainly.
Well, it
Yeah.
sounds to me like it will be resolved because of the standards that are used for sightlines.
Right.
Yeah, but still, if you have two big cars,
That's anywhere on the island, anywhere. I mean,
Anywhere.
but we're talking about
Let's get real.
No.
Let's get real.
Seal
here.
Harbor.
Right, you're talking
Unless
the
you-
harbor, not the whole town,
Yeah, let's stick with the.
and that's
unless-
real.
Hang on a minute. I just read what Julie wrote on the chart up there, and she's basically agreeing with what I think she's agreeing with what I said earlier. Can somebody read that better than me?
You will be increasing activity, you're building a new attraction, you're removing the people at the current dock and moving them to a new area.
Right, so that's basically in the line of what I was saying about that. Lauren,
Oh, I just want to say, I want to go on record to say that I really would love to see this dock. So where I'm coming from is the safety issue. I do think there might be a solution, and I think a path on the right side or the eastern side going north,
That's not
getting people from the
No, it's
current.
not practical.
We looked at it.
Traffic stops.
Well, it's
talked to
worth
the owner?
checking and talking to the owners. We can't
I
just,
managed almost that whole
but
way.
did you talk to the owner?
I have. I managed almost that whole property. There are two deep gullies there. You talk about a
But you were
bridge.
talking about a bridge over on the other
We're
side.
talking about a
so-
very minuscule.
are you talking about the
Brigham.
east side of the
The
road?
opposite side of the
On
road.
Brigham.
Yeah, I said it's about 3 feet, and there is a drop off over
It's
there.
huge. When you go from the existing parking lot on the right side that borders my driveway,
I
go
didn't
down
get
the
to-
other side of that.
I didn't get to finish. If there could be, and maybe the homeowners, if they knew that this is an issue and that maybe they could, by giving some of that land, could solve it. If people could walk from the parking lot straight down and cross over there, and if you had a drop-off only sign on the west side, so that people aren't parked there 10 cars down, but they can drop off. The older people with their chairs can be dropped off, and then they can drive down to the parking lot. I think my point is not that this is the solution. My point is that there probably are solutions. If we do what Roger was suggesting and have some
Yeah.
group get together, or you, Terry, and think about it a little further.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna solve it tonight. I mean, I think that, I don't see the dock going in this summer. I just don't at this point. I think that, we'll deal with it the best we can with the kids swimming, but we've got to come up with a solution here that keeps most people happy. We're not gonna keep everybody happy, and I know that. But
The motion was made that it's not complete. Does that kill the project, or does
We're
that,
just
No,
asking for more
postpones it.
information.
okay,
Yeah,
Just
and
postpone it.
I think if we table it, it's only for a certain amount of time,
Tabling it or,
right?
but is this,
well, it's not, or it's not complete. We're asking for more information.
Roger?
So they.
Earl, are you saying definitively it will not be built this summer?
I can, I mean, I don't. I
Well,
think-
one of the
my-
ways
my
to do this would be to
recommendation-
have you remove
Yeah, my recommendation, if I was sitting where you people are sitting, would be to table it for further study.
And once the application is received and reviewed by the planning board, you have the option of tabling it for an indefinite period of time.
oh, we do?
Yes, you don't,
Okay.
there is not a, if you table it for more information, like it's like, East St. Maurice.
Like what?
East St. Maurice. the
Okay,
field,
yeah.
Okay, that
Yeah,
was
that was,
tabled,
we tabled it for lawyers to fight the
Right.
battle out,
and that,
and
that could have gone on,
it could have.
that could have gone on for years. Okay, so you have the power to table this, and you don't have to put a specific timeline on. Table it until,
But that wasn't a motion for tabling, or was it?
No.
No, that was-
It was
Well, it's
part of
it's
the-
not.
You withdraw your
complete.
motion.
I can withdraw it and I'll say instead, I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay,
And I make this new
Withdraw your second.
motion. I move that application MDO 1-22 should be tabled until a time that a plan for addressing parking and pedestrian safety is provided to the board with plans and a time frame for implementation prior to construction of the pier.
anyway, second.
Okay. Second,
We've discussed and discussed.
yeah.
Is there any further discussion from the board that is needed? Then all in favor of the motion, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
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 All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, so where does that leave us with our draft of findings of fact?
It's been tabled.
Yeah, it's
It's
tabled.
been tabled, yeah, like everything from it's full.
So we still have to accept them as written at a later date.
At a later date.
Yeah,
Okay,
basically, when the information comes in that you're needing, you just pick up where you left off.
yeah. Okay,
next,
next. Chapter 6.
Thank you.
This is my resignation from this. Okay, so, thank you. I will check up. This is all your guys' stuff. I will leave it all here. Thank you.
All right,
That's too bad.
new business land use ordinance, John
you're just a
Osakowski.
full-time member now, that's all.
John
Zlatkowski.
Zlatkowski, map 15, lot 5, application LU 20-22 to construct a new home. To construct a new home.
Yeah, I had a question about this, Dave.
Yes.
The, looking at the plot map for this, number 5, and it shows,
Oh, yeah.
that it's 3.969 acres. And he only has it down for 1.44 acres with a much smaller road frontage.
Mhm.
Do you know what's going on there?
I will have to look at that. That was a good catch. I didn't.
Yeah, because I think it's under the, if he does stick with the 1.44, it's under, unless it's a,
Pre-existing lot, it
Yeah,
could be.
yeah.
Yeah, if it was an accepted lot.
yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
1.54.
But he's got, I don't understand, it should be, what? It's just something that needs to be clarified, that just doesn't make sense. And the road frontage should be 708 feet if it's all 3 parcels. So,
The answer to that is that apparently this was probably 2 lots. And if you
Yeah.
notice, there's 2 square footages on here, and
yeah,
they add up probably to 1.5.
yeah, it's 3. Maybe
See
he
those?
only took part of it. See, Dave, if you look at the actual tax map.
Oh, yeah, I don't have that from me.
Yeah.
But the tax map doesn't, it's got a statement right on it.
I wouldn't
Right.
use the tax map to answer that question.
But I think he was, I don't know what he was using, unless he sold off that little bit. Well, it probably just needs to be clarified.
I'm still trying to find where on the application where you saw size.
Down number 17 is lots area 62,901 square
0.2,
feet,
yeah,
and that's 1.44 acres.
okay.
But
so
then I
maybe the
looked
math-
at the tax map, so I looked at the tax map, and maybe, as Roger said, you can't believe the tax map.
No,
But I thought, I usually go to the tax
Well,
map.
one thing, it's
Well,
not
some
wrong
of
that.
it's true, but you have to be careful.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can see there's an arrow pointing towards it over here.
1.54 instead of 1.44, you mean?
Did I do the math wrong? I don't know.
Well,
Well, I divided 62,901 by 43,560. I'll check.
You need a site review for this one?
Yeah. It's 1.444.
The pre-existing lot.
Yeah,
1.4444,
yeah, 1.44.
all right, in the ordinance, does it say about 1.5? Or is
Well,
it,
but if it's a
non-conforming
pre-existing
lot?
lot, yeah, yeah, but it just seems like it should be a larger lot, so,
I think this is something that
yeah.
David has to go back and research.
Yeah.
mhm.
Well, they can just, because on the application, it says map 15, and you've got map 13 here.
No, I zoomed into it.
Okay.
Yeah, check, but it looks like, if you look at it, it looks like the same map. Lot,
My point is, we're not gonna answer that question
no,
tonight.
no,
Table it.
well.
You gotta
do
table
the,
it for site
site
review
review.
anyway, so.
well, does it even, this is where I go back to, is this application complete enough for us to even consider right now?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so we have a septic plan.
Right, and if it's a non-conforming lot, even if it is actually a
Yeah.
bigger lot.
We just have to clarify that, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, he can build on it either way.
So if it gets tabled for,
Site review,
and,
or
Clarification of
just
lot size.
clarification, yeah.
okay. So that would have to be the motion, the clarification and the site review.
So move.
Second.
Do we know what we're clarifying?
Yeah,
As we
the lot size,
say again,
lot size.
discussion? All in favor?
All right.
All right,
Any opposed? Okay. Now, I take it you're gonna get a hold of Johnny and tell him about the site review and everything's gonna have to get staked off.
Yep.
Now, who's gonna go on the site review?
I'll go.
I'll go.
Gil, Isabel. All right. Next up, permitting proc, Michael Dougal, map 17, lot 38, application LU 21-22 to construct a pier ramp and float. I have an email from Gabe Pendleton to postpone consideration of this until the next planning board meeting in 2 weeks. I understand there is a disagreement about easement boundaries that needs to be ironed out. Let me know if you have any questions or need me to do anything else to postpone. I make a motion, we postpone it till the next planning board, we table it to the next planning board meeting and wait for the results of these easement boundaries.
Second,
Discussion?
We just lost. People.
Well,
Right, just disappeared.
yeah, when people are dropping like flies.
He hasn't been called in to vote anyways.
Right,
Oh,
Roger.
You still got a quorum.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
sorry.
So where are we? Discussion? No discussion being heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We'll postpone. All right, up 3 is permitting with David Werner, map 6 lot 6C, application LU 22-22 to construct a pier ramp float.
Point of order. I think you have to explain to the member what just took place when he was out of the room.
I'm sorry?
I said, I think you should explain to your member who was out of the room what just took place. You took a vote.
Okay.
But I'm not a voting member, so,
Well, Jesse resigned, I guess.
Yeah.
yeah, but they have.
yeah,
to-
but
they
that
have
don't
to-
happen this week.
They
It
have to,
happen Next time.
Okay.
They have to vote me in, so that's why I excuse myself to go to the head. And it's not
You went,
important.
you
I'm
went to
not-
the right place.
I'm not that important. I'm not that important.
Put that in those.
Yeah. they still gotta get to the
Strike that.
minutes.
Okay. Pier ramp float for Werner,
Mhm. Winner.
winner, winner.
He's a winner.
We have the representative on Zoom.
We have the representative on Zoom. How you doing?
Good. Hey, I want to thank you guys for allowing us to attend by Zoom. We appreciate it. My name's Devin Prock, and I've got my wife here as well, Sandra Prock. So nice to meet you all.
Welcome. You got anything you can shed light on, anything that we have in front of us, or?
The application, I
First of
I
all,
hope-
hang on, excuse me. First of all, is he,
He represents both,
he represents both,
but the McDougal and I believe.
has he got letter of standing to represent them?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
we do. Yeah, there
Okay,
should be a
continue.
copy and there should be a copy in the packet
Oh.
authorizing us to act as his agent.
I'm looking at it right now.
I guess I don't have much to tell you that would be different than, or anything different than what's in the application that was submitted. It's just, the length of the pier would be 130 feet and the width would be 5 foot wide. And he wants to use a 50-foot seasonal gangway and to install a 12 by 24 foot float. And the float would be secured by moorings and the pier would be supported by open style stacked granite pyramids. So to limit the impact to the intertidal and stuff. So that's pretty much all I have to say about it. With the exception that it's going to connect to the stairs that are already on site that allow him access to the beach. He's going to use those stairs to access the pier. That way there's no additional cutting of trees on the property or anything like that.
Okay,
I just have one question. We sometimes see the submerged land leases come through
Mhm.
and sometimes don't.
He did do a submerged land lease and he paid the application fee. I can reach out to him for a copy of that if that's something you'd want.
It wouldn't hurt. It's nice to know that it's been provided. or-
Sure, I'll get him to provide the copy to me and then I'll forward it to Dave.
Oh, I want to speak with Roger.
I'm sorry?
Hello? I have to speak with Roger. Hello?
Oh, I've got one good ear and That was very
We
confusing.
caught it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, looks like we're gonna be doing a site review, yes?
Yeah.
We're gonna need
The harbor master.
harbor
review.
master approval.
That is in the works.
I know it's in the works, but we don't have it right now. Is there anything else that needs to,
It's pretty good except for that.
right? We've got Army Corps of Engineer, we've got DEP. All right, so I'll move that it's tabled for harbor master review and site review.
Do you need, do you need us there or me there for the site review or a member of Pendleton Yacht Yard? They could, we're working with them on, building it and as well as installing the pier, so.
Well, someone has to be there.
Somebody should be
Yeah.
there and there should be some markings of some sort designating what we're looking at.
Okay, I'll talk to, I may have to make a trip out. We can put some stakes on the beach. It's, I don't know if do you typically do your site reviews at low tide? Or,
We just need them on land.
We just,
no?
need-
Yeah,
we
yeah,
just
we
need
can
where
do
the
it all
action,
land.
where it's gonna hit, where it's gonna hit land.
oh, so you just need to know where we're gonna attach on shore. So basically on the, at the stairs, basically. Okay.
We can check property lines and all that stuff.
Yeah. And hopefully property pins are easily found and marked so that we can see them too, so that we can get those measurements.
Sure.
Okay. And Dave would contact you or Pendleton Yacht Yard, whoever, Dave would get in contact with somebody about the date that's gonna take place and the time frame.
Okay. Not a
It
problem.
will happen before the next meeting.
It will happen before the next meeting.
Okay. That's fine. That sounds
The
good.
motion was made. Did anybody second it?
Yes, I did.
Did we discuss it? Was there
We're doing
anything
it
to
now.
discuss about it?
Mm,
And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
No.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you for taking time to hear from us.
Yeah.
Moving on the agenda, there's no development review to look at, no other business. We got CEO report in front of us.
Well, who wants to go on the site review for
Oh, that's right. Thank you.
the?
I will.
I can go.
Just get a hold of me.
Harbor master and site review. And Gil and Jennifer, did I hear that?
Yep. Yep.
Thank you. Keep me on track. All right, we've got a CEO report. Been getting some things done.
Been playing catch up after my little 3-week.
Yeah,
3-week absence.
okay. How about people wishing to address the planning board? Is there anybody out there that'd like to address the planning board? Terry,
I'd love to. I think you've kind of seen tonight reasons for the point that I'm gonna make. And the point is that I think that the board ought to push for a full-time CEO, whether it's Dave or somebody else, I don't know. But the board needs to have more support in terms of receiving that, validating, figuring out and saying that an application is complete and ready for the board to hear. Because you're not getting that now, and it's leading to a situation where you have to do design for people that they should have done for themselves. And somebody needs to review an application when it comes in and sees that it's complete. And somebody also needs to review the work that is being done under a particular application to see that the work is following what the site plan says it was gonna be. And I think at a time when the selectmen are suggesting, well, we don't really need the income from fees from the land use ordinance and the development review ordinance. And really what they're saying apparently between the lines is that they don't want to collect any money from people, that they don't need it. And in fact, they really need the money to pay somebody full
That wasn't-
time and to get more attention paid to applications.
Are you talking about the public hearing we had about removing the fees from the,
Yeah,
that's not at all what that's
Yeah.
talking about.
That's something completely different, Terry. They're talking about removing the fees out of the ordinances. So that in the future, if they want to change the fees,
right.
can,
But
without
there's
going-
been
without going
conversation
to a
that they
town
want to
meeting.
get rid of the fees and the only way they
No,
can do
the
that.
fees
is
aren't
by-
going away.
They want to get them out of the book. They want to get them out of the book.
No, I understand that. I understand that.
The fees
But
are-
They can be increased.
My understanding was that what they set out to do was to get rid of the fees. And an attorney told them the only way to do that was to make a broad motion, getting rid of, giving themselves the ability to set the fee, whatever it was gonna be. And that's what is before the town meeting, I believe, coming up, or at least it's been under discussion. And that's the way that they're gonna say, okay, we now have the ability to set the fees, and we're gonna decide that we don't have to collect any fees.
Okay,
That's my understanding.
I
Their-
think your
their
understanding
intention
is different than mine.
That they want to increase the fees.
Huh?
Their intention is that they want to increase the fees.
Really?
Because the fees haven't been
Okay.
changed in the years, whatever
Yeah,
years.
no, I know.
Because it's in the ordinance and you have to change, you have to.
I understand all that.
Yeah, fees
Okay.
can't be changed. right
Terry's
now.
saying it, I'm wrong in my understanding of their intention, and
Yeah.
I hope she's right.
Well, that's her understanding is my understanding.
Okay.
The town is gonna
Okay,
forgive fees.
Yeah.
but I still think you ought to have a full-time E CEO.
I agree.
I knew you would.
All right, we got something.
Maggie Wilcox says, completely inaccurate, Terry. They want to make it so fees won't have to be voted on by the town.
There we go. All right. Anybody else wishing to address the planning board?
Yeah, I have a question for Dave. How many unregistered vehicles can you have on your property?
I would have to go look in the book. I don't have that in front of me right now. But I
Or
can
before
certainly-
being called a junkyard.
Right, because it never got an application, it never went through for the junkyard.
All right.
And he brings cars in here and nothing ever gets taken away. He just keeps adding and adding. And I was just wondering why, or how many unregistered vehicles you can have on your property. I know he's got a garage, but that doesn't mean that he could just keep adding cars and not have them registered.
Are you talking about a person, individual person or multiple persons?
Well, there's only one that's visible.
That's not an answer to the question. Yes,
I'm
there's
talking
one that's
about, I'm
visible.
talking about somebody that applied for an application for a junkyard. And he never got it, but yet. I don't know who's allowing him, but he keeps bringing in cars and bringing in cars. And he doesn't have a permit.
Do you know they are unregistered, first of all?
Give me a break.
I hear you, but the answer you need is gonna have to get looked at.
Well, the CEO, the code enforcement officer would have to do that. And I don't mean to bring up a sore subject, but
I mean, I can get the answer for you. That's no problem. And I'm glad to do it.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, should we put forward, Wendy Huntington?
Yes. Yes. Wendy Huntington has agreed that she still has interest in joining the planning board. And we need to make a recommendation to the select board.
Has to be okay by the select board.
Yes, select board has to make the appointment.
So we'll just get her on the agenda, I guess, or?
I don't know how it works. We just have to make this,
You
make
You
the,
gotta tell Janet, Janet will puts it on the,
Puts it on the agenda.
agenda for the,
for the select board.
Yeah. and
Do
they'll
you,
say,
does
yeah,
the
your name.
planning board have to vote to recommend her to the select?
I don't
board?
recall
Yes.
having to do that, did we?
Yeah,
Oh, we do have to go
for who?
for Wendy.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, we
Or
do.
what, make a motion?
It can't hurt.
Right.
It can't hurt. All right,
I
I'll make-
move we
Recommend.
recommend Wendy Huntington for the planning board.
Second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
So do we have to vote on Roger now, or is he
It wouldn't
automatic?
hurt.
Well, I don't think that his resignation has been accepted yet by the town, has it?
Hasn't been accepted by the board.
He just left, did he leave it, did he leave
Yeah.
it?
Right there, he wrote.
Yeah,
it.
he wrote a
He
resignation
wrote it while he was sitting there?
while he's
Yeah.
sitting there.
That's too bad.
I'm sorry?
Give him a couple of weeks.
Whatever.
I don't know. I'd like to table that for now.
Okay, second.
Any discussion?
Mm-mm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Well, I see that you might reach out to him.
Oh. Yeah,
See
and the
whether
things that
that-
I want to say right now, I probably shouldn't say in.
No, I'm just saying, you as chair might reach out to him and say, it's too bad, it's not something we'd like to see, could he reconsider?
Yeah.
That's what I would do if I were you.
Well,
You have to kind of be ready for things to not go your way, though.
Tell me about it.
I guess I got thicker skin than most people, so. Anyway. I got no additional business.
Oh, I just wanted to note that I had asked Carrie to put list the correspondence we had received, just to acknowledge. it.
Yeah, I see
I
those.
realize that the select board does that, and I felt maybe we should do the same thing.
Yeah, and
yeah,
we acknowledge them,
we
so
got
that
it,
means
yeah.
that we have copies of them in file
You
someplace.
should have copies of them. They're from previous meetings.
Right, right. And no additional business, but it says application for minor development, edit to remove minor. Did we already, that was last week, didn't you say something about that?
Oh, I could help Carrie edit the application. I just think the development review application needs to be reviewed and,
And it was tabled at the
yeah,
last.
and
That
get
was.
rid of the minor. So I can help.
Because
her.
we're supposed to determine whether it's minor or major.
Yes, exactly.
But there's only one application.
Yeah, there's only one
Right.
application.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're at the bottom line where it says adjourn. Anybody want to make a motion?
Yes, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Bye.
Any opposed? All
Good
right.
night.
Sorry about that.
No, don't be sorry about it.
No, don't be sorry about it.